Hi guys and girls, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos de nuevo a Salón de Idiomas. Hoy os traemos algo un poquito diferente. Os traemos un modelo de examen del ejercicio práctico de inglés para las oposiciones de secundaria. Sobre todo porque ya se acercan, en el 2020 tenemos la nueva convocatoria, así que tenemos que ir preparando esta parte desde ya. Os va a servir igualmente a los maestros de primaria, que, bueno, como sabéis, el examen y viendo los exámenes de la última convocatoria, de los últimos años, tienen tela, ¿vale? Lo podéis hacer igualmente. Podéis obviar aquellas partes que nos corresponderían, digo los de primaria, ¿vale? Bien, para poder acceder al examen, y si no lo tenéis aún, deberíais entrar en nuestra página web salondidiomas.es y ahí lo podéis descargar. Lo podéis hacer tranquilamente en casa y luego volvéis a este mismo vídeo que estoy grabando ahora mismo para corregirlo entero. Vale, también en la descripción de este vídeo vais a tener el enlace del podcast y más información sobre la prueba. Vamos por partes. Primero, vais a escuchar el listening y vais a tener las preguntas en la pantalla de este mismo vídeo. Una vez el listening y vistas las preguntas, volveré de nuevo y os daré trucos de cómo deberíais contestar. You ready?
Brexit. You can't escape it. An issue that has caused so much discussion and division and probably thousands of tense family dinners. For vlogger 𝐠𝐫𝐚𝐭𝐮𝐢𝐭𝐮𝐢, it has caused a breakdown in relationship with his grandfather. Once close, they can no longer talk politics following the vote. He recalls the very real impact one piece of paper made and looks at whether both sides can ever find a middle ground.
Hi, I'm 𝐠𝐫𝐴𝐵. I'm a YouTuber and a podcaster. I'm an Essex boy. I grew up in a rural area that was super white and super British. Politics was always the topic of discussion at the family dinner table. That's what I remember about Sunday dinners with my parents, my brother and my grandparents. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know this, but it was my granddad who inspired my passion for politics. It's the one interest we shared, and although we didn't always agree, actually we almost never agreed, but the debate was always passion-filled and it was so much fun. That ended with Brexit. My family, like so many others, was divided down the middle. My parents, my brother and I voted to remain, and my grandparents and my uncle voted to leave. After Brexit, in order to stop us arguing all of the time, we came to the decision to not talk politics anymore. This hasn't been too bad for my dad and my brother. They share other interests with my granddad. But frankly, I'm never going to find golf interesting, and he's never going to be as into the Eurovision Song Contest as I am. I don't think that I've had a one-on-one conversation with him about anything much deeper than the weather since the vote. Chatting politics was the one thing we had, and it was just taken away. It's not like every discussion was about Brexit, but whatever issue we talked about, it inevitably segued into an argument over the Brexit vote. And it almost feels like Brexit has magnified the differences between us on every issue. Things like immigration, international relations, the economy, trade, everything descends into a heated debate that focuses on the UK leaving the EU. I think there was an expectation that we would all come to the same conclusion as him, and I feel like Grandad was almost disappointed that we didn't. He's an old-school patriarch, he always sits at the head of the table, and I can see he's probably upset that half his family went against him. It doesn't matter which side won or lost. Frankly, both sides have ended up losing. I don't know if it's possible to reach across that divide again. We're both very opinionated, so I don't know if there is a middle ground. I don't think we can have discussions about politics anymore. The time for that has passed, but I want him to understand and accept my point of view. I don't want his forgiveness, I want his respect. It's different with my friend Jimmy. We are also on two sides of the Brexit divide, but he's a different type of Brexiter to my granddad. He's more of a libertarian and a pragmatist. He believes that the EU Parliament is distant from the people. I do disagree with him on this, but Jimmy and I have been doing a podcast together since 2013, and although we don't agree on this big issue, we've managed to overcome it, and I think actually become even closer because of it. Since the Brexit vote, we have almost moved even further extreme on the two sides of the debate. I'm an even more vocal Ramona, and he is steadfast in his belief that we need to leave. But we still joke about it. We make fun out of one another and discuss the topic on the podcast. That's part of the reason we've remained friends despite the difference of opinion. We feel like we need to talk about the issue publicly. We agree on a lot of the other stuff. I think we've actually grown closer in a lot of other aspects since the vote. Of course, there is some level of frustration with one another, but we work really well together. Our relationship stems from us loving to debate, and our disagreements drive our conversations. Jimmy and I, we don't see the decisions that we made about Brexit as a personal affront. We had different opinions and we came to different conclusions, but we're still thriving friends. I know so many people who no longer talk to their grandparents or their older relatives since the Brexit vote because it's just too hard for them to be able to have that conversation, and that is heartbreaking. Us as a country having to make this binary choice of one thing or the other, it was inevitably going to make us split in half and stop talking to one another, and I really want us to be able to come back together, I mean as a country, but more importantly as like friends and families and as colleagues. I am relentlessly optimistic. I think that there has to come a time when the country comes together. It's not happening right now, frankly. But we're going to have to pull our socks up and actually learn to work together. And I think that's really, really difficult, especially with the kind of politics that are front and centre at the moment. But the British people, like people who are like families and friends and at university or at work, I think we've always gotten on a lot better than Westminster has. But all of that division from Westminster has spilled out into the rest of the country, into the rest of our communities. And it will flow away at some point, but we're still kind of tainted by this big debate that all of the politicians have been having. And it'd be really nice if we started remembering that we did actually quite like one another before. We liked sitting around the Sunday dinner table and having lunch with our like grandparents, and I do believe that we can get back to that.
So what about the people who will feel the impacts of Brexit the most, but didn't get a say because of their age? 𝐠𝐫𝐚𝐭𝐮𝐢 sees things we need to seriously discuss lowering the voting age to 16. She makes her case as to why now is the time to give this politically engaged generation their say at the voting booth.
My name is 𝐠𝐫𝐴𝐻𝐻. I'm 21 years old and I'm a black British Muslim. I'm a model and I'm also a student of politics. Young people feel disenfranchised from politics. This is a problem we need to address, and one big step forward would be to lower the voting age in the UK to 16. People often question the majority of teenagers, but here's the dichotomy. 16 and 17-year-olds are recognised as adults in that they can legally consent to engage in sexual activity and they can become parents, but they are not given a political voice or a choice. They can have jobs and contribute to the economy, but they cannot have a say on our economic policies. They can join the armed forces, but they don't have a say in our defence policies. This is not an issue that gets a lot of attention, but it's a topic we need to talk about if we want to engage young people in politics. Take Scotland as an example. Where the voting age was lowered, 16 and 17-year-olds can vote in local and Scottish parliamentary elections. One of the most important and positive consequences of Scotland enfranchising 16 and 17-year-olds is that there is more of an interest in politics now, and that is reflected in their youth discussions in Parliament. The minimum voting age is also 16 in the Isle of Man, Jersey and Guernsey, and the Welsh Parliament is now working on a bill to lower the voting age to 16 for local elections. Austria was the first country in the EU where 16 and 17-year-olds were allowed to vote in general elections. First-time voter turnout has fluctuated over the last 10 years, but according to the EU's own data, 79% of Austrian youth said they had participated in local, regional or national elections in the last 3 years. The European average is 64%, so voter turnout right across the younger population in Austria is 15% higher than the EU average. And earlier this year, Malta also lowered the voting age to 16, so the tide is turning slowly but surely. Not lowering the minimum voting age to 16 sends a message to young people that their views aren't valued or considered valid. They are the next generation of leaders and creative thinkers. It's their responsibility to challenge the establishment and question the politicians, and yet young people are alienated in the political system. The average age of a member of parliament in this country is 50, so how can we better serve young people if they are still largely underrepresented? We need to open democracy to young people if we want to deal with the democratic deficit in the UK. What do I mean by that? Well, the turnout in the 2017 general election is 68.7%. If you compare that to the 1950s, when the turnout was an average of nearly 80%, that's quite a drop in numbers. People are disengaged with politics. Yes, it's true. Young people who do have the vote don't always turn out to vote. The EU referendum was a good example of this. But there's a vicious cycle here. If young people don't see themselves represented and reflected and respected in Parliament and in politics and in society, then this is bound to be the case. We need role models. We need young people represented and speaking up for us and the future of this country. One way that we could improve political knowledge and understanding among young people is through schools. At the moment, the level of political education in secondary schools is fairly weak. It only stretches so far and fails to provide a solid basis for students to even begin to grasp a subject as broad as politics. In fact, you have to do a lot of outside reading to grasp political concepts and the history of politics. There needs to be more diversity in the topics that are taught, as well as including current affairs in the curriculum. The aim should be to encourage young people from an early age to not shy away from political discussions, but to build confidence in young people so that they are able to participate in debates without feeling as though their opinions aren't valued. There are issues that 16 to 18-year-olds are concerned about that they have a perspective on that's being ignored, such as mental health issues, increasing tuition fees, the state of the NHS, lack of opportunities. They need to be able to have a say on this. They need to be given the chance to be vocal and to be able to translate their views into a ballot paper. The UK has an ageing population, so there are more older people voting than there are younger people, but reducing the minimum voting age to 16 will allow more young people to vote and have their voices heard. Giving a vote to 16 and 17-year-olds will encourage more young people to take part in political debate. This would eventually lead to more young people getting involved in politics and potentially considering a career in it. We need more young people in politics. We need more role models. Parliament needs to be reflective of society. 65% of the UK is under the age of 50. How can our politicians represent us when they do not reflect us? It is a vicious cycle, and we need to break it.
Bien, ¿qué os ha parecido? Muy complicado, ¿no? Bueno, no os preocupéis. Chicos, os dejamos ahora en la pantalla lo que podríais haber contestado en cada una de las preguntas. Lo malo es, como habéis visto, es que las preguntas no estaban en orden y aparte había varias personas hablando y acentos diferentes. Pero bueno, no os preocupéis, practicando es como uno llega a dominar más el examen. Ahora os dejo en la pantalla lo que podéis haber contestado. Bueno, ¿qué tal? ¿Han coincidido las respuestas con lo que os acabamos de dejar? Esperemos que sí. No os preocupéis, don't worry, que hay muchos más modelos para practicar. A ver, vamos a pasar ahora a la parte de reading. Os vais a encontrar con un texto bastante largo de Hemingway, de una de sus novelas, y las preguntas, pues bueno, tienen una combinación de preguntas sobre el texto y ya al final pasaremos a cosas incluso de fonética y por último una cosa de sintaxis. A ver qué tal os sale. No os preocupéis porque aquí sí que os voy a dejar unas respuestas más detalladas para que podáis comparar cada una de las preguntas en condiciones con lo que habéis elegido vosotros. Ok, let's go. Bueno, una de las partes más complicadas o dos de las partes más complicadas han pasado ya, el listening y el reading con sus respectivos ejercicios. Ahora pasamos a la parte de traducción, la traducción inversa y la traducción directa. Son extractos de novelas y a ver qué tal se os dan. También os vamos a dejar nuestra traducción. ¿Algunos trucos? Bueno, pues si hay alguna palabra que no os venga a la mente, no os empeñéis en intentar encontrar esa palabra específicamente. Buscad sinónimos, aunque se pueda alejar un pelín el significado, más que nada porque no tenéis tanto tiempo y al fin y al cabo la prueba, pues, a ver, tenéis que acabar todas las traducciones. Aparte, prestad muchísima atención al contexto. También haciendo traducciones en casa os va a servir bastante y haciendo más modelos de examen. Vamos a ver qué tal se os dan. Ok, vale chicos, pues nada, ya estaría el examen. No os preocupéis si vuestras respuestas no coinciden al 100% con las nuestras. A ver, obviamente hay algunas cosas que no pueden ser diferentes, como por ejemplo la transcripción fonética o las mismas respuestas de listening. Sin embargo, hay otras que tienen una interpretación ya diferente según la persona que conteste. Así que si tenéis dudas de si vuestra respuesta es válida o no, podéis dejar un comentario aquí en este vídeo y os contestaremos. E incluso tal vez otras personas que estén viendo el vídeo también os dirán la otra versión. Y ya está. Y si queréis preparar más, pues podéis entrar en nuestro blog o podéis venir a nuestras clases de preparación del modelo práctico de inglés. Y ya os dejamos, estamos para lo que necesitéis chicos y muchísima suerte en las oposiciones.